Shabbat Shalom. I would like to offer this Devar Torah in memory of my beloved mother who died last Thursday morning. My mother's name was Esther Miriam Bat Freda Gedalia, and I said at the Shiva Minyanim, that, Mr. Rogers used to talk about how when something terrible happened and children were afraid, that they should look for, and perhaps all of us, not just children, that we should look for the helpers. And my mother was one of those helpers. She was someone who helped all kinds of people. And so many, and I say that in part because I've felt very helped and very loved and supported by all of you and by this community. And people have been asking me, what can we do to support you, to help? And we have a lot of food, so I don't think we need more. But thank you. We're good at feeding each other, which is so beautiful. But actually, I have been finding it very cathartic to write about my mother, and if anybody is interested, after Shabbos, you could email me and I'll send you the link to my Substack where I wrote some things in her memory, and I think that that is something that is helpful for me to share her with you, so that, as we always say to each other, her memory continues to be a blessing. So, Parashat Re'ah. Earlier this year, 2 Israeli soldiers desecrated a statue of Jesus in southern Lebanon. The IDF responded quickly and decisively, punishing the soldiers with jail time. It was a painful example of how our need to assert and defend ourselves can sometimes slide into triumphalism, the wish to squelch or destroy the sacred practices of others. Monotheism, as Jack and I talked about this recently, can be co-opted into the dangerous notion that there is only one way to serve our singular Creator. But our central tenet, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, does not mean that there is only one way to serve God, or that we alone have the right answers about religious practice. The second commandment cautions us against making our own certainty into an idol. Our Parsha today contains passages that are painful to read if we read them literally. You must destroy all the sites at which the nations you are to dispossess worship their gods, whether on lofty mountains or hills or under any luxuriant tree. Tear down their altars, smash their pillars, put their sacred posts to the fire, and cut down the images of their gods, obliterating their name from that site. Taken at face value, these verses could inspire acts of religious violence. But if we continue reading, I think we begin to better understand the Torah's meaning. Lo ta'asun ken la'Adonai Elohechem. Do not worship your God Adonai in this manner, but look only to the site that your God Hashem will choose amidst all other tribes as God's habitation to establish the divine name there. We need to understand the Torah's admonishment against idol worship not as a call to destroy the shrines or devotional objects of others, but as a commandment to destroy our own idols. The Torah is not concerned about governing the practices of others, but about what happens within our own borders. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses addresses the situation the Israelites will face after they enter the land, when they are building a home for themselves. So the Torah is asking us to tend to our own messy lives, to look inward rather than attempt to coerce others into seeing things the way that we do. The Torah spends so much time helping us to define our relationship to idolatry, because even for us today, idols are so seductive. Their power is so alluring and disorienting. Idols are a negative byproduct of our own extraordinary creativity. I mean, imagine how beautiful the golden calf must have been, shimmering in the sun, its glowing body reflecting back the people's own stunned faces. We see ourselves in the idol. And before we even understand what's happening, we begin to worship ourselves. There are as many ways to fashion an idol as there are diverse humans. How can we know whether we're creating a work of art or an idol? We create an idol to serve ourselves and to feed our desires rather than to serve God. Idolatry confuses our minds and asks us to feed our children, our future, to the fire. Idol worship perverts the idea of oneness, of interconnectedness, of community, of compassion. Idols represent a sort of misplaced yearning for connection and safety. Idols trade in power, not love. So through idolatry, we sometimes worship our own ideas, that which we mistakenly believe that we know. We fall in love with certainty. That luxuriant tree that the Torah talked about is comforting and delicious because we can literally put our arms around it, smell its blossoms, feel its bark. We can taste its fruit. We can locate it on a map. God cannot be held in this way. God is, by definition, mystery. So, monotheism can look like certainty at first blush, and it has been misused this way many times in crusades to destroy the idols of others, their religious figures or their sacred places. This is how literal readings of the Bible can cause harm. Knowing our tradition and loving it fiercely, defending our right to be proudly Jewish, can be, and of course must be, compatible with epistemological humility. Cynthia Ozick wrote in an essay that accompanies Simon Wiesenthal's The Sunflower, she said, "The second commandment is more explicit than the sixth, which simply tells us not to kill. The second commandment tells us that we must resist especially that killing which serves our belief." So today I want to ask us to find the courage to smash the idols of our own certainty and the humility to stay open to seeing the blessings that are set before us. Shabbat Shalom.